Welcome to the Business Plus Accounting video training series. In this episode we'll look at the Accounts Receivable module, where you will enter payments received against outstanding invoices, print statements, print aging reports, deal with debit and credit memos, and many other features. The Accounts Receivable module is available by selecting the Accounts Receivable button from the main BPA menu. In the Accounts Receivable menu, you'll see initially that we have the primary Add and Delete buttons. Add is where we'll go to enter a new payment when we receive a payment from a customer. If we need to remove that payment before it's been posted, we can select Delete. And once the payment has been entered and is okay, then we can post the payment. And if we need to delete a payment that's already been posted, then we reverse that posted payment. Let's go ahead and begin with the process of adding a receivable payment. We'll select the Add button. You'll notice that the transaction number that's assigned is an automatically assigned number by the system. This number stays with that check so that if we need to look up the details of a check payment or we need to reverse a check payment, we can use the transaction number to do so. The first step is to enter the account number for the customer that we're receiving a payment from. We can key that in or use the pick list by pressing F8. Find the customer that we want to use and then pull them in. You'll notice that as we enter through the fields, we automatically pull in the customer name, their information in terms of their credit limit, as well as the orders that they've had in the past year and the totals of their invoices that are outstanding. You'll also notice that their terms appear. When the software pulls in the outstanding invoices for this customer, you'll also notice that it calculates the current discount that can be taken on those invoices and automatically applies that discount to the total amount that is due for those invoices. This discount is calculated based on the original date of the invoice combined with the terms information that we've defined for that customer. To illustrate the way that the terms work, note that currently we have a 64-cent discount available for each of these invoices. If we change the date for the payment, you'll notice that that pushes these three invoices outside of the discount date, so only the fourth invoice maintains its discounted amount, whereas the first three return to the original discount amount, or the original amount of the invoice, which is $31.80. So we'll enter the check number, we'll enter the amount of the check that we've received, any finance charges that we wish to pay off of this check you would enter here, and then finally the type of payment that you're receiving, whether it's a check, cash, or credit card. The next step is to apply the payment to the individual invoices that you're paying. Typically, a check will be sent and it will be applied beginning with the oldest invoices. If you wish to apply your check beginning with the oldest invoice and automatically distribute it to the oldest invoices, you can use F4 to apply cash. When I press F4, you'll note that it automatically begins applying that check and applies as much as it can to each of these invoices until the total amount of the check has been applied. If we needed to change the discount that was going to be allowed on one of these invoices, for example, here we have a 64-cent invoice, and we can press F8 to change that discounted value. And then we would just key in the new value, and you'll note that it updates the total on the invoice, the net due amount, appropriately. Finally, if we wanted to see some more information so that we could understand better if a customer has requested payment against a certain invoice or any other type of situation, we can use the F7 hotkey to view the information about an invoice. This information will show us the invoice as well as the specific product or products that were sold on that invoice. When we're finished, we simply press F3, and then the software comes back and is ready for us to enter the next transaction. If you didn't want to save that transaction, if there was a problem and you wanted to abort it, then you would have used the F10 key, which aborts a current transaction. Once a transaction has been entered, the next step would be to post the transaction. If there's a problem with the transaction, you could delete it, selecting the delete key. Then it would ask which of these transactions based on which of these invoices. Please note that you cannot reverse the payment for a specific invoice if that invoice was paid with a check that was used to pay multiple invoices. You have to reverse the entire transaction or delete the entire transaction rather than delete the payment of a specific invoice. This is because the assumption is that the check or the payment that was given to you was for some reason invalid, and therefore we need to reverse or delete the entire payment, not just the payment against one specific invoice. Rather than deleting an invoice at this point in time, I'm going to press F10 to abort that function, and we'll go ahead and post the invoices that we've just paid, the checks that we've just entered. That would be done here with the post customer payments. At the time that you select post customer payments, those actual payments will be logged into the general ledger, applied to the appropriate bank accounts. There are two options here. The first option is to post the accounts receivable check and cash payments. This will post any payments that you've entered as a check payment or as a cash payment, and it will also print on the posting report a listing of all of the current customer order transactions that have not yet printed on a posting report. Customer order transactions that are paid post automatically as soon as the order is created. However, so that you can have that on a hard copy report, those will be added to the bottom of the accounts receivable check and cash payments posting report. The other option is to post credit card payments, which will post only the accounts receivable payments that have been entered as credit card payments. The reason that we provide both of those options, one is so that you can post those into different bank accounts if you would like, and secondly so that as you reconcile the statements of your credit card company and your bank account, it's easier to pull apart the deposits from each source if they're not sitting in the general ledger as one lumped transaction. Let's go ahead and post our AR check and cash payments. You'll note that it asks us for the posting date that we want it posted to, as well as the bank account. Always it will default to the standard bank account defined in the general ledger, but if we wanted to deposit this into a different bank account, for example, we may post credit cards and checks to different bank accounts. In either situation, you can select the bank account there that you want to post it to, and you have the. So let's go ahead and post that, and go ahead and print the posting report. The posting report shows you the transaction numbers that were posted, as well as the specific invoices, the check numbers that were entered, and the amount that was applied, discounts that were taken, finance charges that were applied, and any overpayments that were entered. At the bottom we see a summary showing us the accounts that were hit in this situation. We've alleviated the accounts receivable burden on our company, and we've posted that money into our bank account. If we need to reprint a posting report, posting reports can be reprinted by date, and that posting report will show all of the accounts receivable transactions that were posted on the date in question. This report then is nearly identical to the posting report, other than that it indicates that it is a reprint.